Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt. My name is Bodhi, and I am your host. And you probably tell we didn't get a news episode on Sunday or on Monday. And the reason for that is on Sunday, I was thinking about the shareholders meeting, and I was like, you know what? That shareholders meeting is usually pretty long. So maybe we should just concentrate this week on the shareholders meeting and not worry about the other stuff. So that's what we're going to do. So this week we're going to have 3 episodes. They're all going to be on the shareholder meeting. The way the shareholder meeting is set up is in the beginning you have all the proposals and they vote on things like new board members or reelecting current board members or executive compensation, that kind of thing. And then the next part, usually Elon comes out and he gives an update. And then the third part of the shareholders meeting is questions. So we're going to do that. We're going to break it into 3 different parts. However, I recognize that the shareholder business part of it isn't as interesting as when Elon talks. So we're going to do Elon's portion. And then the next episode, we're going to go over questions. And the final episode, we're going to go into shareholder proposals. And last year, I was like, I think it would be more valuable if I actually read Tesla's rebuttal for the shareholder proposals. And we get a little bit more context on that. So that's what we're going to do. That episode, I think, is going to be interesting. But it's also going to be a little bit nerdier. But I find the shareholder proposals to be quite interesting. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Hopefully that is clear. Before we hear from Elon, we're going to hear from Martin Viega, and he's just going to give us a disclaimer. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you all of the things that Elon talked about that I didn't pull a clip for. So let's go ahead and jump into Martin Viega's statement.
During the course of the following session, we may discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. Such statements are predictions based on current expectations. Actual events could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those disclosed in our most recent Form 10-K and 10-Q filings with the SEC. Such forward-looking statements represent our views as of today, should not be relied on thereafter, and we disclaim from any obligation to update them after today.
All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the stuff that I thought was kind of important, but not important enough to pull a clip for. Elon started off his opening remarks, or his remarks, I guess, with a brief summary of Master Plan 3. No new information there. We found out that Tesla has over 127,000 employees, and that doesn't include contractors. One cool point that I thought was cool anyway that Elon said was that for every manufacturing job at one of their factories, there are 5 to 10 jobs created in the community just to support those employees at the factory. That includes teachers, staff at restaurants. His whole point was when Tesla builds a factory in your community, it's not only, those employees that benefit, the community as a whole benefits. Now, you could argue that those benefits might be canceled out because of the huge tax breaks that Tesla gets. I mean, those restaurant owners and teachers and all those other folks, they're still putting money in their pocket. But as a community as a whole, Tesla and other companies aren't paying the full amount that they could pay in taxes to support that community. Let's see. Tesla receives over 3.6 million job applications. And that was just for 2022. That's pretty impressive. They talked a little bit about their next-gen drive unit. Here are some interesting facts from that. There are no rare earth metals in that drive unit, which I believe the Rivian drive unit doesn't have rare earth metals as well. Or maybe there's just very little. I can't remember quite off the top of my head. 75% reduction in silicon carbide. It will take up half of the factory floor space as their current drive units, and it's going to cost around $1,000 to build. So pretty cool in terms of that next-gen drive unit. This was in master plan, but they confirmed that they're going to switch to a 48-volt battery architecture. This is not the battery that powers the car. This is the support battery that used to be a 12-volt battery. Let's see here. Tesla is the largest EV maker, which makes sense. They also have the largest or best margins. Elon talked about making an EV profitable, how hard that is and how hard manufacturing is. And I always use this comparison. Like, we're not going to, most normal people aren't just going to create a car factory and start building electric cars, right? So I compare manufacturing to building an IKEA shelf. Like, that's really hard. Building an IKEA shelf is way harder than it needs to be. Imagine trying to manufacture a car. Like, you already have all the parts in most cases for the IKEA shelf. Trying to put that thing together, harder than you think. Let's see. Model Y is the best-selling car, and that's pretty much worldwide, they think, by the end of the year. And I'd like to say to Tesla, you're welcome, because I'm getting my Model Y on Saturday. They talked a bit about the Giga Nevada expansion, and we've talked about this. They're going to produce 4680 cells there, as well as the Tesla Semi. He did give a little update on Cybertruck. He said that they're hard to make, but they're making progress. And it's cool. It's going to be really cool, but no other information was given. And then Elon teased the crowd a little bit, and it was kind of funny. I almost left this in. He said that they don't normally make product announcements at shareholders meetings, and then the crowd kind of got really excited. And he's like, and we're not going to do that today, but we have 2 new products that we're going to announce soon. And Elon's guess is that between those 2 models, those 2 new models, they'll sell 5 million units combined. That's pretty much all he said about that. All right, let's go ahead and get a full self-driving beta update.
And with that, please welcome Elon Musk.
FSD beta is growing hyper exponentially. So that chart is going to look like a wall, basically. Just a question for those in the room: how many people have tried out FSD beta? Okay, great. so what do you think of the latest build? Right. So it's really getting to the point where it's at least for me when I drive around, it's several days between interventions, and I think we're getting to the point where there's really just one last piece of the system that needs to be a neural net, which is the planning and control function. And so we expect to have that last piece become a neural net, so it'll be end-to-end from video in to control out as a neural net. So the thing to appreciate is it's not that full self-driving will be as good as a person. It will be much, much better, like a lot, like over time, 10 times safer than a person. It's not even going to be a contest, frankly. So this is a really big deal, and I think some people realize it. I think you guys probably realize it, but being able to do a software update and have several million cars suddenly go from manual driving to autonomous, I think will be the single biggest asset value increase in history. The normal usage of a passenger car is roughly 10 to 12 hours per week, call it maybe an hour and a half per day. And when you drive around, you see lots of cars just parked in parking lots because out of the 168 hours in a week, they're using less than 10%, maybe 7% of the hours of the week a car is in use. But once it is autonomous, it can be used probably, 50 hours a week, maybe more. So it is effectively a 5-fold increase in the value of a car overnight. I'm actually surprised that so few people realize this, or maybe they just don't believe it's real. But it is. So this is really an insanely big deal.
All right, so that's pretty much a standard update. I don't know that there was anything in there that we didn't know, but not everybody follows us as closely as I do, so I left it in there so everybody's up to date now. I believe that at some point in time we're going to live in a world where instead of owning a car, we just, call for a car when we need one. But I also believe that I'll be dead or very old before that happens. So I don't share Elon's optimism on that. I also don't think that's going to make cars more valuable. I don't think the cars are going to be worth as much as Elon says they are. The reason why cars are worth, what they are now is because people see value in that, right? I saw value in spending $50,000 on a car for me, right? On some minor level, I'm going to customize my new car to me. I mean, I'm not going to put aftermarket stuff on the car, but I'm going to customize it. I'm going to make it mine. I'm going to make it feel like it's mine. If you just have cars out there driving around and you order one and one is much like the other, and I don't have any personal attachment to this vehicle, I think that those vehicles will just be basically a space with wheels, right? Some of them will be nicer than others based on what you can afford, but there's not going to be any customization to you. It's just going to be a vehicle. Maybe you can watch a movie, maybe, you can lay down and take a nap, but it's not going to, those vehicles, by the time this happens, vehicles are going to change so much. They're not going to be configured the way they are now. They're just going to be a way to get from one place to another. And a lot of them are probably going to be pretty basic, which probably means that they'll be relatively cheap because they're going to be really basic. And if companies like Tesla are running the fleet, then what does it matter? They're building their own cars anyway, whereas the value is all to the company who is either running the cars or building the cars. It's not to us. I don't know. Elon makes it sound like this is a great deal for people who own Teslas. I think it's fine. I don't think it's a great deal for us. I'm including myself as somebody that owns a Tesla now, just so you know. I am insufferable now. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our next clip, which is about interest rates slowing down car buying.
And as you can see, our free cash flow per year has been increasing steadily. So we're making good progress. It should be said that, and I've made some of these comments, that that interest rates have a very big effect on the affordability of cars. So the vast majority of people buy cars based on the monthly payment. So it's like how much is the monthly payment, and it's not a question of value for money. It's just, do they actually have enough money? Can they afford it? So for the vast majority of people, it's just, can they afford to pay the payment? As the interest rates increase and credit tightens, it's safe to say that these various banks that have died are probably somewhat distracted from handing out auto loans. It's like if they're on their way to the cemetery, increasing their auto loan portfolio is not the first thing on their mind. So this is going to be a challenging 12 months. I want to be sort of realistic about it. Tesla is not immune to the global economic environment. I expect things to be just at a macroeconomic level difficult for at least the next 12 months. Tesla will get through it and we'll do well, and I think we'll see a lot of companies actually go bankrupt. So I want to make sure that this is not just the good news parade. It's important to understand that no company is immune to the macroeconomic environment. But that said, it won't be darkness forever. I expect probably a year of difficulty globally for everyone. And then my best guess is that the global economy turns around in roughly 12 months. And then Tesla will be in an extremely good position. So anyone who is a long-term investor, I think, will do extremely well.
Man, I am hoping that Elon's right, and it'll be a challenging 12 months, and then things will pick up and turn around because my investments are down, and I would like them to be up. It's really hard. Looking at my Robinhood or my 457s accounts or anything like that, it's just like, ugh, this sucks. But it'll get better. All right. I'm also paying a higher interest rate than I would have liked. I'm paying 4.75, which I think is pretty good for where we're at now, but I've definitely paid less when I've bought cars in the past. Next up, we're going to hear about Tesla's internal software team.
And here I want to give a big shout out to the Tesla internal software team. This is it's actually a really big deal that Tesla has such a powerful internal software team. I mean, that software team is responsible for handling the entire customer experience from buying the car, delivering the car, operating the factories, service and support. We internally wrote all of the insurance and financial software. The supply chain and logistics stuff, the data centers and infrastructure, and the analytics and insight. This is all internally written Tesla software. I think there are almost no companies in the world can do this because they do not have a very talented internal software team. So they're generally reliant on third-party enterprise resource planning software. But Tesla is not. This is a hidden strength of the company that often doesn't get a lot of attention, but is incredibly powerful. So once again, I'd like to thank them for their work.
Tesla's internal software team wrote the Tesla operating system. So I'm going to just give you what was included on the slide that Elon had up. The omni-channel customer experiences, supply chain and logistics, data center and infrastructure, fulfillment and charging, factory software, information security, service and support, health and safety, risk and compliance, captive financials and insurance, employee experiences, analytics and insights. That's pretty good. Like one software package runs all of that. I'm not sure how common this is or not. I'm guessing it's not very common. I think it's very cool. And if I had $1 billion+ business, I would do this too. But I don't. So here we are. Next up, we're going to hear about Tesla safety.
Tesla cars are actually the safest cars in the world. We put immense effort into vehicle safety, and we keep updating the safety. So we keep improving the automatic emergency braking system just with a software update. And we keep improving the airbag deployment with software updates. So we close the feedback loop on, like when we see an accident, we analyze the accident, and we say, what can we do from a software standpoint? Because there's actually quite a lot you can do to, first of all, avoid the accident, because the best accident is no accident. And then if the accident occurs, how do we deploy the airbags and the seatbelt pre-tensioners to minimize the probability of injury? So even for cars that people have owned for many years, we are behind the scenes continuously improving the safety of your car. And there are even some things that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that we actually have automatic cabin overheat protection. So never in the history of the company has a child or a pet died in a Tesla. So it's one of those like little known features, but Because we have a large battery and we're monitoring things all the time, we can make sure that the cabin temperature never gets to lethal levels, and I think that's a big deal. So, and then while lots of cars will say they've got 5 stars or whatever, there's nuance to that. When we did the European NCAP sort of active safety tests, we got the highest scores that they've ever seen. So, yeah. So we got a 98% score on the active safety system, which obviously isn't good enough, and we have got a game plan for getting rid of the last 2%. And then it's worth noting things like the total cost of ownership of a Model 3 is now comparable to that of a Toyota Corolla.
The Toyota Corolla thing is just interesting. It didn't really have anything to do with safety, but he said it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'll leave it in. I agree that Tesla does safety improvements over time. We've talked about this in the past. Oh, and one of the things that I thought was really interesting, and actually the most interesting thing of this whole production, was Tesla's automatic cabin overheat protection, which is basically the car won't get hot enough for somebody to die in it, which is huge for places like Arizona. Children die all the time that were forgotten in a car. And thank God I have never been on a call where a child had died because they were forgotten in the car. I've been on lots of other stuff that involve children that are horrible, and I won't go into here today. But I have been on plenty of calls where somebody has run into the grocery store or whatever, and they thought, well, the baby's sleeping, I just need to grab these things, and they're in longer than they think. And we get called out, and we have to break a window or try to get into the car somehow. And usually when we break a window, the parents aren't very happy about it. And the alternative is the child could possibly die, and we don't know how a baby's doing in the car. So that's usually the first thing that we'll do if it's hot outside. If it's not hot outside, we'll try and get into the vehicle without damaging the vehicle. But if it's hot outside, we're taking a window, or if it's taking too long, we're taking a window for sure. Let's see. Elon mentioned that there had never been a death in a Tesla of a child or a pet because of this feature. I think this is fantastic. Again, this is a big deal in Arizona. Unfortunately, either through neglect or just being exhausted as a parent with an infant, people forget their children or babies in the cars all the time here. It sucks. Anyway, I'm going to move off of this because it's disturbing. Tesla received the highest NCAP scores, which is the crash test rating in Europe. Tesla scored a 98 for the Model 3 and the Model Y. NIO's ET7 scored a 95. Aura's Funky Cat, I love the name of this car, scored a 93%, and the Nissan Ariya also scored a 93%. So not too bad. Next up, we're going to hear about Tesla Energy, and we're going to start with the Megapack.
Going to Megapack, because this is stationary storage is an important part of solving the sustainable energy problem. And the Tesla Megapack is now more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. So we have very strong demand for the Tesla Megapack, and we're going to make a lot of them. So, yeah. And a while back, I predicted that the Tesla stationary battery pack business would actually grow faster than the automotive side of things, and that's exactly what has happened. You can see it's an exponential curve, growing at a rate that is even faster than our vehicle sales.
Elon said that the Megapack was now more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. That is fantastic. I know in Avondale, which is a city in the West Valley, I was reading in the newspaper the other day, that they are building a Megapack installation there. And actually, it was pretty interesting because I was driving on the freeway one day and I saw a semi, and it was pulling like a flatbed trailer, right? And on the trailer were these rectangle devices, and they were covered, so I didn't know what they were. But I was like, I wonder if that's a Megapack or a Power Pack. And one of the coverings was like flapping, and I could see white underneath. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that that's a Megapack. So I went home and I researched it just to see if Tesla was doing anything in Arizona. And that's when I found out that they're doing this installation in Avondale. So this is fantastic. So more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. That is awesome. If you drive around Arizona, you will see, if you keep your eyes open, especially in the Phoenix area, you'll see natural gas peaker plants all over the place. Tesla's goal was 40 gigawatt hours of production for stationary battery pack storage, which they haven't hit yet, but Elon said that they could see 500 gigawatt hours a year in the not too distant future. And next up, we are going to hear about supply chain choke points, and this is just mostly about lithium.
As we look ahead to tackle what we see as the choke points in the supply chain, one of them is lithium refining. I mean, there've been a few times on Tesla earnings calls where I've said, "Can someone please just do lithium refining?" Because there's just a shortage of it. But we really see very little activity outside of China for lithium refining. So it's not that we wish to take on extra problems, but since nobody else was doing it, we felt we had to do this. And so we've just broken ground on a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, which will be do more lithium refining than I think probably everything outside of China.
Not a lot to say here. Refining lithium, there's a lot of challenges, and getting battery grade with lithium is hard. That's what I got out of this. Elon and the Tesla team they've been saying this for a while now, so not necessarily new. All right, this is our final clip, and we are going to hear about Optimus, Tesla's robot.
I think the thing perhaps most notable is if you look at the difference between the last time we showed Optimus, and this is a video that was taken basically yesterday, and the Optimus team was up all night making this video. The Optimus team has done an incredible job. So just, yeah. And it's the motors, the controllers, the electronics, and everything you see in the Optimus robot is a Tesla-designed system. So this is we actually tried to find drive actuators and whatnot that were off the shelf. We found that there weren't any. In order to make an effective humanoid robot, you actually have to design the motors and gearboxes and the electronics from scratch, because it's a very different application from anything else that exists. So we took our world-class motor and power electronics team and said, okay, we need to design several actuators that don't exist in the world, and they did. So Optimus is working quite well. And then for full self-driving, as full self-driving gets closer and closer to generalized real-world AI, that same software is transferable to a humanoid robot. Just like humans can obviously walk around with their arms and legs, but we can drive a car, fly a plane, steer a boat, ride a horse. If you have a generalized understanding, or if you have generalized real-world AI, which is what we are developing for full self-driving, it can be transferred to basically anything. So Optimus will use the same FSE computer as the car. The Optimus stuff is I think extremely underrated. because people just cannot comprehend the consequences. Now, obviously, we need to make sure that we don't have a Terminator scenario. That's very important. It's all fun and games until Terminator shows up. But if you say, like, if you have had a generalized humanoid robot, what would be the effective ratio of humanoid robots to humans? Because I think basically everyone would want one. And maybe people would want more than one, which means the actual demand for something like Optimus, if it really works, which it will, is, I don't know, I mean, 10 billion units? It's some crazy number. It might be 20 billion units. If the ratio is, say, 2 to 1 on people, humanoid robots versus people, it might actually be... It's some very big number, is what I'm saying. And a number vastly in excess of the number of cars. So my prediction is that Tesla's long-term value will be, a majority of the long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very confident of.
All right. So take this with a grain of salt, because Elon is the CEO of several billion-dollar companies. I'm a dude that right now is podcasting at, 9:54 at night in my basement. I'm in my underwear with a t-shirt. And so I don't know anything, but this is what I think. Just let you know where everything stands. I don't think that Optimus is going to be the hit that Elon thinks it is. I think it's going to be very popular. I think it's going to be very successful. But he said like 10 billion robots. That number seems very high. So if you add in household robots and robots used for commercial and industrial, 10 billion still seems like a lot to me. And maybe I'm wrong on this. And part of the reason why it seems like a lot is because there are a lot of purpose-built robots. The reason why we have robots that can pick up a car frame so that it can be painted by another robot is because those robots are purpose-built. It doesn't make sense for 6 or 7 humans to pick up a frame and then 3 or 4 of them to paint the frame while those 6 humans are painting it or holding it. That doesn't make any sense, right? So not every situation is going to need an Optimus-like robot or a humanoid-like robot. Plus, there's another company, and I believe they're called Phoenix. I heard about this on the Daily Tech News show the other day. And their goals, the Phoenix Robots' goals, is pretty similar to what Elon wants to do. So maybe not as ambitious. I do think the Optimus robot is going to be very successful. I don't think that it's going to sell 10 billion. 10 billion in what time frame, I guess? Maybe 10 billion in its entire lifespan. I don't know. It just seems 10 billion is a lot. That's a big number. 10 million is a lot. That's also a big number, but 10 billion is a huge number. We are at 34 minutes, so let's end it here. I want to thank everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. Everybody in this community that I interact with is very supportive. And it should go without saying that I appreciate you for that. But I don't know that I say it enough. I got a lot of really great emails for the last couple of weeks. So thank you very much. I appreciate you guys and gals very, very much. It means a lot. And in some ways, you picked up my spirits when I was a little frustrated and down. So know that your emails matter. So if you want to email me, you can. It's Bodie, BODIE, at 918digital.com. You can also find me on Twitter at 918digital. You can support the podcast by going to supportkilowatt.com, or you can go to patreon.com/kilowatt, or you can look in the show notes because we have an Acast Plus link that will get you an ad-free experience as well. All right. Everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening. And I will do a very bad job at ending the podcast. Just like that.